Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Women in Leadership Talk podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today. We have a wonderful guest joining us, Cathi Nelson, and Cathi has a great story to share with us. Cathi, welcome. Where are you calling in from today?
Yeah, thank you so much. I am in West Hartford, Connecticut.
Oh, very good, very good. I used to live in Connecticut.
Oh,
I was in Enfield for a while.
right up the road.
Yeah, right up the road from you. Yes, absolutely. Well, welcome. We're so glad you're here with us, and I'm excited to sort of dive into your story and all the things that you've done. But before we get there, let's just welcome our audience. We know you're listening from about 50 countries around the world, and we're excited that you continue to chime into the Will Talk podcast and listen to the inspirational stories and wonderful guests that we have join us, sharing their take and their perspective on life. So thank you for being here today. So let me give you a little bit of feedback about Cathi before we jump into conversation. But Cathi Nelson, she transformed her hobby of organizing family photos and friends into a full-time business in 2009. I love this. She was helping others learn how to become professional photo organizers, eventually creating an association of photo organizers in 2011. Today, she boasts over 700 members worldwide, ranging from part-timers to those enjoying a second act career to some 6 and even 7-figure businesses. The Photo Managers offers courses for hobbyists, a certification program for professional photo managers, and assistance to companies creating backups and workflows for their images. She's also, in her spare time, she's written 2 books. Photo Organizing Made Easy, so going from overwhelmed to overjoyed, and a business roadmap for professional photo organizers. And, when we get to the end of our discussion today, I'll make sure Cathi shares with you how to connect with her, how to reach out, because I know for me, I get very overwhelmed with the photos. And I just moved, Cathi, and so I have a gazillion boxes of photos that I still haven't unpacked. So I could use your help. So maybe let's kick off with, just sharing your story about how you took your passion and turned it into such a great purpose.
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's interesting. It's one of those things that if I look back now, the trajectory of my life, I see the thread, but I didn't see the thread as it was happening. So I like to tell people that every life experience you're having is part of the thread of where you're headed, right? And we can tend to discount some of those experiences, probably thinking, oh, why am I in this job or why am I doing this? But really, when you have some perspective. So for me, when I realized that, when I graduated from college, I used to say I wanted to write and produce documentaries. So I always loved storytelling and I love visual storytelling. It was a passion, but that was a long time ago. And my first job out of college was selling advertising for a local cable TV station because that was my foot in the door, my way that I thought I would get into production and news reporting. But once you're in sales, that's it. You're never out of that. I didn't know that at the time, but so my first 10 years of my career was actually in sales and marketing, selling advertising for local stations here in Connecticut. And I really didn't like it very much, but now again, looking back, I see that those skills that I learned in those years have really helped me when I was, 25 years later, when I was really starting to build a bigger business. But once my children were born, they were adopted, I quit my job because I wanted more flexibility and it was not a family-friendly experience. And of course, today still hasn't gotten much better from families. And I discovered the world of scrapbooking, not really the creative side of it but I was really interested in the storytelling because you could write the stories next to the photos because this was before we had digital photos, right? Yes. And everything was analog. So you would run to your, 24-hour CVS or whatever, get your photos, bring them home. And so I started teaching and helping other people do that. And I did that for many years. And then the changing technology came. And I called it my incredibly shrinking paycheck because as people stopped printing photos, the whole business model went upside down. Camera, I mean, if you look at Kodak, you look at Nikon, the camera industry, I mean, it was a major disruptor to many, many businesses. Your 1 hour photo labs that were all owned by family businesses no longer exist, right? We can all probably remember those on the corner.
Oh, yes, for sure.
So it was a disruption to my business as well, significantly. But because I was helping women, mostly women, with their printed analog photos, they started bringing in their little memory cards, and they'd say, I don't know how to get this onto my computer, or my husband, all my photos are on my computer, but I don't know how to log into my computer. Remember, this is about 15 years ago, before the iPhone, which it's amazing how that wasn't that long ago, right? So quickly to, move this up, a friend of mine said, what do you charge per hour to come and help me? Because I was helping everybody. And I was like, no, Maria, I'm not going to charge anything. She said, Cathi, I played a residential organizer once to help me, move. And so I agreed, and I got to her home. And not only did she have memory cards that she didn't know how to get onto her computer, her parents had just passed away, and she was one of 4 adult children. She had inherited all those boxes of photos. Her kids were straddling the analog digital world. All their baby photos were in boxes and things, in their beginning teenage years were now becoming digital. And she wanted me to make an album of her dad because he had been a gardener. And she said, I don't care how long it takes, but I guarantee there's hundreds of other Marias out there who would pay somebody to do this. So I was shocked, because I thought, wow, I guess that's true. So I came home, I used the word photo organizer because I knew that to create a story and a narrative, I needed a beginning, middle, and end. I had no idea, though, that was opening up an opportunity that just exploded and continues and to become even a greater need every day. So I called myself a photo organizer. I started, going around to my local chamber of commerce. People started hiring me, and then they had all sorts of other things. What about these old home movies I can't watch anymore? What about, these letters from the Civil War? What about all these things? So, and then other people started saying, wow, I want to learn how to do that. So I created the Association of Personal Photo Organizers in 2011, before people were creating membership communities, right? Again, this was like, I used to collect checks in the mail and things, but I went with the association model, deciding I wanted to be a big tent. I didn't want to create a franchise. I wanted to create a way for people to have their own businesses, doing it at the level that they wanted, but providing all the training, support, and now in certifications, because really we needed to raise the level of credibility within this organization. And now fast forward, 15 years later, we're having our 13th, we just finished our 13th annual educational conference. We have members all over the world, and we are still drowning in photos and videos. And
wow. Well, that's amazing. And you said so many things there that, you made me like kind of go down memory lane a little bit with regards to, first of all, how fast technology is accelerating. Right? And just in our lifetimes, how much it has changed. And if I think about my kids, like when my first one was born, it was always just your point. You run to Walmart or Walgreens or wherever you get your photos printed, you send copies to your family, right? And then the second one comes along and it's digital at that point. And then she says, why are there no photo albums of me?
Yeah, exactly.
They're all on the computer, right? And,
yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you. Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Cathi.
Well, it goes all back to that passion, that question you asked me, though. For me, the underlying passion, that the thread that runs through this, was always a passion for telling stories. So sometimes I joke, I use this, I'm like, organizing photos is watching paint dry. People don't really join or become professional photo managers because they want to necessarily organize, but they want to help create a story. They want to help people capture their legacy and tell the stories that matter in their lives. And it's very meaningful work. You become very connected to the people that you work with. Like Vicki, if I did say, yes, we took on all those photos, I'd learn a lot about your life. I'd learn about your parents, or I'd learn about your sisters. If you had siblings, I'd learn about your pets. I'd learn about where you vacationed. I'd learn about what kind of holidays you like to celebrate. I'd learn about the painful times as well. And all of that would be really meaningful as I would work with you on, kind of curating that collection. Because your children, I don't know how old your kids are now, but they don't want all those photos, right? Yeah. But they do want the ones.
One does, one doesn't.
Yeah. That's always,
have a boy and a girl. The boy, no interest whatsoever. If I pull out a photo album, he's like, yeah, whatever. My daughter is exact opposite and loves looking at, photos of when the kids were babies and my parents, and to your point, siblings. And it is a story. And, that talks about that intentionality and the awareness, right? Like, because, you know, on multi levels, you are creating an environment of community, an environment of storytelling, legacy, all of those things. And so, I guess, Cathi, where I want to go with this is that intentionality and awareness about the daily things that come up in your life, right? Like, just even being able to see that, right? Because sometimes it's like right in front of us and we don't even recognize it. And you've really taken something and turned it into purposeful and meaning for not only yourself and the community of photo managers, but of all the people that you're serving. And how does
And I
that?
like that term, serving, because I think I really wanted to create an environment that was different. I have two overall writing philosophies that is a top down. A rising tide lifts all boats, and we're collaborative, not competitive. And so when you join the photo
Nice.
managers, you hear that over and over again. And at this point, we get so many beautiful letters where people come to conference for the first time. Which is, I didn't think anybody would be friendly, but I can't believe how friendly everybody is and how helpful. And it's not just women anymore, but I also, kind of thought like women helping women with technology. I think as humans, especially with this rapidly changing world, we can feel like we're the ones who are making all the mistakes. And especially around, there was like a magic button you should have pushed that got all your photos organized, or everybody else is better at this than you are. People tend to be so critical. And I really wanted to create an environment purposely where one is we encourage and empower people to feel like, no, it's not you. You didn't make the mistake. The technology has not. They weren't asking questions about you, and they still don't. In many ways, it's shocking at how businesses really run in terms of the questions that they ask. And so I've been exposed now and partner with significant companies and bring a lot of expertise. So that passion, though, right, was always there, and then it's been hard. I mean, there's been, it's not been always been easy, because I've learned some really hard lessons.
Oh, I can only imagine.
Yeah.
Well, and especially like, if you have this many members, let's say, or associates all around the world, like you're also, there's cultural differences, there's time zone differences, there's all of these different ways of, how you stay connected. And maybe just talk about that a little bit. Like, how do you stay connected? And because what I'm hearing is you created a community that people feel part
Yeah, when
of.
we ask our members, what's the number one benefit to membership? I always say to them, look, when you become a member, we charge an annual fee. It's $5.99 a year. Like I said, what keeps me up at night is why I'm not interested in just signing people up and then having them leave. Like, what is it? What value? And we have many members who've been members now for many years, 10, 12 years. And it's, how do we create that community? We use, it's, believe it or not, our Facebook community is very vibrant. It's for members only, and it's almost like a 24-hour tech support. Our members go in there and ask all these questions, because you're going to come up against things I've never seen this kind of, VCR tape before. I've never seen, and people answer and help all the time. That idea of a rising tide lifts all boats is really, I think, and we're illuminators. There's a book that came out by David Brooks that I just did our keynote on that, and it's he talks about how to really get to know a person, and he talks about there's two types of people in the world: illuminators and diminishers. Illuminators have a curiosity, and if you're going to sign up to do this for a living, if you're interested in learning, I'd be thrilled to work with you, Vicki. Like to me, it'd be really exciting to hear your stories. That requires a certain personality profile. I've decided that we're kind of self-selecting, so we tend to attract people who already have that kind of desire, and then I feel like I get to kind of shape that and really work very hard to make sure that we've created something called a Rising Tide Award. Every year now, people nominate members, and it's because they follow those things, and then we reward with 3 people a year earn the Rising Tide Award. It's become a really big, really meaningful award within our community. Again, that's just a way that I was able to kind of keep the focus
Cathi,
on
I think we're having a little bit of we're having some technical issues. It's, I don't know if you are sensing it on your end.
Oh, did you just freeze? Oh, there, you're back. Is it mine?
Yeah, it's for whatever. I think so. It's a little bit unstable. Yeah. Can you hear me okay, Kathy?
I can see you're back. I didn't know if my internet's usually pretty good. I didn't get any notification that I had low internet. I don't know if was it me or do you know?
Well, I'm not sure. When you were speaking there, it just kind of went out for a second. But let's go back to illuminator because that was a really important point that you made, and I just want to make sure we capture that.
Yeah. So I'm trying to see if I had the book here, but there's a wonderful book I read by David Brooks about how to really know a person, and he used this term in there. He said there's two types of people in the world: illuminators and diminishers. And he talked about how illuminators are people who are curious. You know, you go to a party and somebody might ask you questions about yourself, or and you like those people, right? It makes you feel good. I think by nature, photo managers have to be illuminators because, like, for me to be really interested, like I would be very interested in your life stories because I care deeply. I mean, I'm just fascinated by people and stories, and I bring curiosity with me, and so we also created the Rising Tide Lifts All Boats Award that we give out every year at our conference. Our members, it's self-motivate. They nominate each other within our community. And it's become quite an honor to earn that. We give it to 3 people a year, but it's a way to keep the focus on that fundamental principle that I've built this organization on, which is the idea that we are all a rising tide lifts all boats, right? The more we work together, the better we all will be.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love that. That's so powerful. And when you think about that, because our world it's in a crossroads right now, right? And so you've created this community that enables people to, find their purpose and passion and connect with others on a much deeper level. And, when you were saying that about how you get to know very intimately someone when you're working with them, honestly, I didn't even think about that, right? I'm thinking, yeah, you're putting, photos together, but you're absolutely right. That is so intimate. And it deepens that connection so quickly because you're seeing this person in totality, not as a moment in time. And that paints a very different picture.
We
So I
always say
love what you're doing.
Yeah, it's an honor and privilege because you journey through people's lives. And what we're finding now, that many of our members have been working with the same families now for many years in some ways, because things always come up if they want a graduation album or if they want a wedding suddenly or a video montage. But now we're working a lot in the area of legacy storytelling. First of all, because there's a tsunami of baby boomers turning 65 every day for the next 6 years. 10,000 people will turn 65 every day. And we're seeing it even in it's been the ramping up, and now we can see it where celebration, end of life, Alzheimer's, dementia, working with creating albums around with dementia patients before it's too late. There's so many ways that we intersect because your videos and your photos, and we say keepsake items, usually that's included a lot, whether it's a dress or grandmother's teapot or anything like that, and the technology is now coming alongside that. There's such great technology being created. The problem is the consumer has no idea. They're completely overwhelmed. You're not sitting there today thinking, oh, who created a really great app for me to tell my story about my grandmother's tea set, right? But we know who that is. So what's been fascinating to see the business keep growing and changing is we've kind of become the tech support team for many companies. They can't outsource tech support to India or a place like that. People want to talk to a human being around these things.
Yeah.
And so many companies are starting to partner more and more with us and they're actually, training our members on their product. And then our members are actually able to help their clients with their product. It's fascinating to see the growth that I didn't anticipate that.
That's amazing. Well, and such a ripple effect, right? In so many ways. When you were talking about, just the whole pulling it together, I was in Alzheimer's, and as people get older, and not just Alzheimer's, but many different illnesses that come about. But I was thinking about my own mother, right? Because last year for her 80th, so 2 years ago now, we got her a digital photo frame, and it has been a lifesaver because her memory is going, right? And every day she'll say, oh, I'm looking at this picture. I remember when. And so it's it has been really helpful. And I don't know what happened to it, but something happened and it was down for a couple of days. And she said, my house feels completely empty because when it's on, I feel like all of you are around me. And we all live like hours away from her. And so I can see, what you're describing, I can see how that really brings that connection for families but even for that individual person, right? Like having that reflection of your life. And you started out, Cathi, talking about that how those life experiences they're part of the thread that shape who you become. And to me, like that's so incredible if we can slow down long enough to realize that.
Right. And sometimes you just need somebody else. I actually hired a photo organizer recently because the shoemaker has no shoes, right? So I don't do this anymore. I support the whole business. And I recently lost a rescue dog that was very dear to my heart that I'd plucked off a highway 13 years earlier, and I knew he was the only dog that I would ever have an album made. And the woman, one of our members, she interviewed me 3 different times, which was fascinating to be on the other side. And she did it through, we never met in person. She did it all remotely. And then she presented back to me the most amazing album. It ended up being the pets of my life. And it ended up including my kids, and then my sister with her dogs, and then my brother and his dog. And I didn't really know when we started. And I said, I want this as part of my legacy. This is going to be at my funeral, because somebody else was able to take a peer into my life, look at my photos I sent her all these dog photos. And she said, well, you have lots of other people's dog photos in your dog collection. Because, you can now, once you've done the metadata, which I can find every photo of a dog, right? And cat. And we have a cat.
Oh, yeah.
2 dogs and a cat. So, that's the beauty of technology today, right? I sent her like 1,700 photos. But that, she pulled out, by talking to me, she pulled out the stories. And it's an incredible book. But that was an aha for me in realizing we're not trying to tell every big story. It's not that big. I think we get bogged down thinking, I have to tell the whole legacy. Like, I was born on this day. And then, no, here was a window into who I am that I didn't even see around the pets of my life.
Wow. That's powerful.
Yeah. So that's the value and the beauty of the work that we do, and the importance of the work that we do.
Well, and I think what you just shared there is really important, because it is not about every single photo being this story, but it's how do you take glimpses of your life and what is most important to you, and really having somebody who doesn't know you be very, very curious in pulling that all together. And that legacy aspect of it, like that is so incredible. And especially I think in today's environment, when you think about, lots of people get divorces as an example. Yes. You have blended families that come together. So there's different memories, different, and so how do you bring that together for, the children of maybe the first marriage, and then you're creating this whole new life. Like there's so many ways you could actually go with how you look at your life. So I love that. Right. I love what you guys are doing.
Yeah, and the first part is digitizing those photos in boxes. I don't know where you moved to, but with weather extremes and things like that are happening everywhere. Those photos are at high risk. You really do want to get those out of those boxes and just digitize. Get them scanned, and then at least you have a backup. If anything ever happens, you at least have that piece of the puzzle in place. And then from there, there's so many different things that you could do with those photos. And also old home movies. Like, did you take home movies of your kids? Are they on those little camcorder tapes and VCR tapes? Those are not made for long-term storage. Those tapes are deteriorating as we speak. And so, it's really fun to see your kids when they were taking their first steps, or maybe, I don't know, their first day of school, or hearing their little voices again. All that can be unlocked and digitized. And then you can share that with them. My kids they'll send me little clips every once in a while that they must, when they go online and they'll look at their childhood, and they'll send me a little clip, like they'll text me.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Yeah.
That very cool. Yeah. And I didn't even think about that. I mean, just the, storage of actual paper or video and I should have thought about that, because even things like when you move, which I just did, you lose, right? You things get lost in the move. And I went through this with my mom not too long ago where she was like, I've lost all of the photos of my family, right? And she was devastated. Well, I had copies.
Okay.
And she didn't know that I had copies, and she was like, how did you get those? Like, she was so ecstatic because I did have copies of them, and I did digitize them, and I put them on her digital photo frame. But your point is very valid, because we're so busy in our lives, we forget about things like this. And these are moments where you go back and you look and you go, wow, like that was me when I was a little girl. And now I'm, in my mom's case, she's 82.
And when we work with family photos, and because we're international, we have members all over the world, I always say we're so much more alike than we're different. If you asked any family in any part of the world to share their top 50 photos or something, I guarantee you it's not a mystery. They're going to be weddings, births, parents, children, pets, maybe scenery, flowers or sunsets. It doesn't matter what culture you're from. It doesn't matter what your background is. We, as human beings, we long to be connected, right? We're wired for connection. So that's another piece of this, I think, that has been really kind of healing in some ways. At our recent conference, it's a very magical experience. We've done a great job, I have to say, over the years of really creating. And we do a dance party, which is really funny because it's, we just have learned to do that, and women just mostly women, the men kind of stand around and watch us at this point, but letting loose. And I thought, what's amazing, it's a moment in time for like 3 days where politics or nothing enters the room. I am positive we have different points of view. There is no question that we come from different states, we come from different backgrounds, we come from different faith traditions. I'm positive. Somehow we managed to never let that has not entered into the conversation at this point. And unfortunately, in a world that we live in today, it's a rare moment in some ways, but we're hungry for that. I think everybody just needs a break. So hopefully as a leader, these are, talk because the title is leadership too. These are my values that I try, that idea of a top down. And over the years, I'm more willing to admit that I've contributed to that. I think there was times when I'd be like, oh no, but I realized, no, it is really important to me, and it always has been. And I think I'm proud of what I've accomplished at this point to continue to hold on to that in this world that I've created, in my little space, my little piece of the world that I've created. And I love the international part. Our European members are having their second conference in Amsterdam in October, that they're doing it on their own. And there'll be like 48 people coming from different countries. And I just love it. They're doing it, they just do it out of their own decision. We support them every way that we can, but I'm going to help sell vendor. I'm going to try and get some sponsors for them. But
nice.
But they, it doesn't matter. They're Portugal, Spain, different ages, Netherlands, London, South Africa, Australia, Israel, Malaysia. We have members South America. Yeah.
Excuse me. To me, that's amazing, because what you've done, what it sounds like, you've planted a seed, and now that seed is just growing, right? And it's everybody is nurturing as it continues to grow. So this garden's getting bigger and bigger, and I mean that's having a significant impact on many people's lives. And what you just said there a moment ago about we are wired for connection, and I think COVID, that really was sort of the launch pad to help us realize even more how connected we are and need to be as human beings. And we have this divide, this push and pull that's going on around our world, and creating that safe space for people to come and it doesn't matter what your beliefs are, but being connected as human beings, like that's really, really powerful.
Yeah. And bring curiosity, bring that curiosity, bring that desire to, again, pull out of people, help them tell their stories. It's funny, you're right, you wouldn't think that photo organizing or photo man is really about that, but that really is what it is. It's not, otherwise I think people would, well, there are companies that you can just you can just box up and send your photos to, scan companies. We're the opposite of that. We're kind of like we call it a white glove service. We're going to curate that collection before we scan it. We're going to make sure that when you get those back, you know what to do with them. That there's a process that we take it up another level. And I think that's because of that underlying desire to take it one more step further. And
Yeah.
so it's so
I
there you
love
go.
that. I love it, Kathy. It's so funny because when you were just saying that about, oh yeah, you think, oh, it's just putting photos together. It's not that at all. It's not that at all from what you shared today. And, what I would say to our audience is think about this conversation, this story that Kathy has shared today about how do you take your passions and turn it into such a great purpose, and living your values, like connection, leadership, integrity, meeting people where they are. Like all those things are so important as how you've brought the company together. So our audience, think about that. Like what's right in front of you that you're doing that you love.
And then again, some of those pieces that I mentioned, though, that string so the sales background a little bit is what I realized. I would go to photo shows like in New York City. I'd walk, like it was called Photo Plus Expo, and I'd walk around to meet all the exhibitors that sell photo products, and I'd bring my business card and I'd be like, hey, would you be interested in promoting your products to our members, or telling people that they could do this for a living? So that, again, so find the skill sets that you may have thought, oh, what am I doing with that skill set? Really, in retrospect, those things helped me get to where I am. There's things I wish I had, like I didn't have any great financial, I wasn't a CFO, or I didn't have like a great accounting background. So the business side of it has been a painful learning curve for me. The marketing and sales side was easier, but, and then I've gone and hired coaches. I've worked with many coaches and, worked with a lot of networking. Get yourself out there and keep talking about what your passion is, because somebody might have the spark, might see in you. And one last story on this is, I was teaching at the Darien Public Library in Connecticut on Got Photos Need Help, and a woman came up to me afterwards. She says, "Oh my gosh, you were spot on. This is excellent. I really want to introduce you to my executive team. I'm Joellen Gray. I'm the director of marketing for Fujifilm, and their headquarters were right nearby in Westchester." And I drove home. I thought, what in the world does the director of marketing from Fuji want to talk to me for? I went. I always remember it was a rainy day. I was going to get paid like $125. I needed the $125. It was an hour and a half drive. I didn't want to go. I went 40, and that was like, there's a whole story behind that, how that opened doors for me by saying yes, showing up in places, and then somebody else having a vision to see something in me, and then me saying yes to that, and I remember being really intimidated going down there to Fuji. I brought a friend. I'm like, could you come with me? Now I can't believe I felt that way. But at the time I was I hadn't really entered into this entrepreneurial world. So I'm like, what do I say to these people? I dressed up nice and I said something, and there we go. That was
There you go. Well, she saw something, right?
Yeah.
She saw an opportunity, and you had this passion and energy that just attracted her. And I think the key here of what you just said was you said yes, right? Because
Yes.
oftentimes we will second guess and we'll say no, and oh, I'm not smart enough, I'm not good enough, whatever the story that we tell ourselves. And because you said yes, now look at where you are.
Yeah.
So, Kathy, I'm cognizant of our time, and I want to be respectful of that. So, what is next for photo managers, or for you? What is next?
It's a great question. I am actually working hard on a time management, but asking myself, what is the strategy? How do I really strategize? I think for the photo managers, what's next is kind of this realization that we're straddling this new world of this. Companies are creating tremendous amount of technology to solve a lot of these problems, but the consumer is in the photo video space, just my little world. And the consumer needs assisted sales. I'm calling it assisted sale. I feel like there's a lot of opportunities for me to go out and find those companies and connect them with my community, because if I can help our community get clients without a lot of effort on their part, isn't that a great thing, right? I mean, if I can if I can marriage those two things together. So I think, and also around this legacy space, I think we're going to really move deeply more and more into in the senior tech world, they call it, and it's just a fascinating world. So that's what's next for the photo managers. And for me, I'm really trying to think about, and I don't want to call it it's like my, not an exit strategy, because I'm not going to be leaving anytime soon, but I am starting to think, well, what does that look like as I slowly ramp down, or how do I how does the photo managers go on long after me? I had no idea when I started this that I couldn't just turn off the lights. I can't get up from this chair and turn off the lights and walk out. Like my sister just retired from a state position, and she just like closed the door. Yeah. And I'm like, I have not built something I can close the door. So that's my journey to figure out what does that look like and how do I make sure that is handled well over the next 3 to 5 years, probably. So
nice. Well, and that's really good to have, in your vision of how do you keep this going and growing. And sounds like you already have people that even what you were sharing about Amsterdam, how they're pulling this event together. And so you have some of those foundational pieces in play, but great leaders do figure out what is their talent pipeline, what is their backup. So good for you for be thinking about that. And
it's less about me. I'm still pretty visible, but I'm trying over in the next 3 to take more of a back seat because it's really bigger than me at this point. It's not the Cathi Nelson created the photo managers. I mean, I've stewarded it now long, but it's been a groundswell. The members have created what we have. They're the ones out there doing the work. And so how do we allow that to continue to new people to come in, more families and businesses to be served? And then it's kind of like there was no such thing as coaches or professional, trainers at one time. How does this just kind of go on into its own world? And then competition is coming. People aren't paying attention, and so how do I manage that? That's a whole nother thing to figure out.
It's a big world. There's enough for all of us.
Yeah, there is. That's right. Correct.
Yeah, and it's to your point. It's more than the process of what you do. It's more about the connection and the community and how you serve, right? Like anybody can put photos together, but it's how you do it and the energy that comes with that. So, and you've got beautiful energy, Cathi. So, your heart's in the right place as to how you want to bring this company and bring it to its full fruition. So good for you.
Thank you.
So Cathi, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today. I have enjoyed hearing, how you took your passion and turned it into purpose. And, again, I'll share with our audience, look in the mirror here. What's going on right in front of you that, you have the potential, the possibility to do more of what you love. And, we're only here on this earth a short time, so let's make it count. So Cathi, thank you. Stay with me for a moment here. I want to thank our audience. I appreciate you being here today and chiming in. And please do share this episode for several reasons. Because number one, if you're looking for sort of a side gig or a full-time career opportunity, this is something that you can do. If you're that person who wants to be connected and purposeful, make sure that you check out check out their website. So Cathi, do you want to share that real quick? How can people get in touch with you?
Yeah. So our website is thephotomanagers.com. So photo managers, and in there we have information how to become a pro. We also have a year-long we call it photo manager and training for people who might want to just get their own photos organized. We create a great community around that. I always tell people you didn't take all those photos in a weekend, so you're not going to get it done in a weekend. So
good point.
Having a group that supports you through that. And then you can follow us on our social media channels. We have a YouTube channel, so lots of ways that you can connect with us.
Amazing. Thank you for that. So you heard it right there, and they're all over the world. So lots of opportunity, no matter what country you're chiming in from, to really look at that. And I want to thank you, for being here today. But also, if you're curious about your own leadership style and how you're showing up as a leader, visit our wilempowered website. That's WIL empowered. And take our free leadership quiz. That'll give you a lot of great insight as to how you're showing up as a leader. So thank you, everyone, and we look forward to having you on our next show. And please do share, leave us a review, share this episode with your family and friends, and we'll see you again soon. Take care, everyone.